Forex Daybreak podcast, where we trade the Forex market with you. Entry, target, exit, and stop loss levels are covered when we walk you through every trade made in the show. 5% of Forex traders are profitable, and you can be among the winners. If you wish to find out profitable trade signals in the Forex market, Forex Daybreak is the show for you. Now, let's begin today's episode.
Good morning and welcome to episode 71. We are not going to place any trades today. We are going to take an overview of the market, couple of pairs, and also look at some economic events that might move the markets and give us some good trading opportunities and more direction on few pairs we have been watching lately. It is recommended that you will learn to read the market yourself and not just blindly enter trades based on my signals or from any other signal provider. I will not take responsibility for your trading losses or credit from your profits. Okay, that said, let's start this episode. Let's begin with EUR/USD. We have seen a decline which started yesterday or continued yesterday, and through the night there has been more downside on EUR/USD. Price now 106.63. In my opinion, we are now forming the last impulsive wave on this sequence, wave 5, and since we have a large third wave is the longest on this sequence, we can expect waves 1 and 5 to be equal in length or approximately equal in length. So we can project this fifth wave bottom. So if we take the length of the first wave, which is around 190 pips, and we take this from the peak of the fourth wave and project it, so we are nearing the same length right now. 192 pips gives us 106.36. But if we look at this structure more in detail, so let's take a look at this in 1 hour chart. The wave divisions are quite hard to figure out at the moment. We can see there's a lot of overlap. Perhaps there's waves 1 and 2 now formed. So this structure would propose that we are going to see more downside on EUR/USD. So if we take a look at this, we draw this structure. So perhaps we can see waves 1 and 2. Maybe there's an expanded flat or flat correction as wave 2, and now 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. Maybe we see a little more downside before larger correction and then one more wave down. So I'm expecting more downside on EUR/USD. We have a trade on here. It has been triggered. I think it was 106.8. Let me confirm that. 106.86 was the sell stop order in my charts. Stop loss 107.45, take profit 106.3. So take profit level is around those levels where we projected the end of the fifth wave based on the length of the first wave. So let's get back onto the 4 hour chart. So at least 106.3, maybe lower. We have a trade running, so we can adjust our levels accordingly if we see more impulsive waves or more aggressive looking price action towards the downside. And we can see, actually, let's take a look at some of the economic events today. So there is, from the United States, we have year-over-year CPI, also excluding food and energy. Then we have industrial production numbers. So some economic news is coming later today from US, so that perhaps there is some effect from those economic news on this pair. Also, we can take a look from the UK. There is inflation report today, which is one important or market moving event possibly. Also, we have CPI figures from UK. So there are some economic events today that can move markets. So let's keep an eye on those and look for possible triggers and direction from or based on those economic events. But in EUR/USD, I'm expecting more downside, and at least 1063 would be a target for this last wave before larger correction can take place. Okay, let's see dollar yen next. So yesterday we put a trade here. I closed it last night. If I remember correctly, there was a 60 pip profit. I closed it last night at about, let's see, I entered around 122.45 and closed it 123.19 or thereabouts. So 70 pip profit. This is okay profit, and also if we take into account last week's bad trade, so this is a very welcome start for the week, a 70 pip profit. So we had our take profit level around this 100% Fibonacci expansion level, around 123.5, 123.6, and I'm expecting this to reach those levels and maybe even higher than that. But there is a reversal expected here soon. And also if we take correlation to EUR/USD, then we can expect also a larger correction happening soon in EUR/USD. Perhaps even those CPI figures tonight can be a trigger for a reversal, but we'll just have to wait and see. But a little more upside on dollar yen is expected before larger reversal can happen. All right, let's next take a look at pound dollar. A decline has started here. I have talked about this previously on this podcast. This structure is very unclear in pound dollar. My wave count is expecting more downside. Perhaps those CPI figures and inflation report from UK today may trigger more downside. If I remember correctly, last inflation or rate hike news from UK were quite negative on the pound. So perhaps we will see more of that later today when those CPI figures are released. Wave count in pound dollar would propose more downside, but I would like to first see a decline well towards the 150 level, and then once we see more structure in here, we can conclude that this larger decline has really begun, and we can then start to think about trading this pair to the downside. Let's see euro pound next. Yesterday I talked about this wave count, which is slightly unclear. If we take a correlation for EUR/USD, and also if we are expecting weakness in the pound, this ABC structure would suit notion that we are forming the B wave and can expect one more move higher, maybe near the peak of the A wave around 0.72 level. At this point it's hard to say. We can be on a next decline already, but the structure of this decline would propose that this is corrective wave and would suit well for the idea that this is a B wave and we would see one more wave higher before the larger decline can resume. So let's see today if we get negative news on the pound, so this can trigger the C wave to the upside on euro pound, and perhaps we will find a trading opportunity to the upside once we see this reversal. Of course, if there is positive news on the pound, this can trigger a decline, and if we see a impulsive structure to the downside, then we can conclude that we have already finished the correction and are declining more. The structure in here is quite hard to figure out. We can possibly make out the impulsive structure from the high of the A wave around 0.72 level. So if we take a look at this, there's a 5-way structure, then a 3-wave move to the upside, and now maybe another 5-way structure starting here. But since there's very much overlap, it is hard to figure out what is the correct labeling here and correct analysis on this decline. If we take correlation to other euro pairs, I'm still expecting, or I'm still in favor of the view that we should see some euro strength on euro USD, on euro pound, also possibly in euro yen. So let's see how this develops. I wouldn't trade this pair at the moment. If we see more pound strength, then possibly and probably we have already seen the correction and are resuming or have resumed the downside, but at this point very hard to say. Okay, let's take a look at pound yen briefly. We have seen a little more upside and are approaching the highs. Yesterday I talked about that perhaps the intermediate wave X has already completed, but since we have more upside, perhaps this isn't the case. 187.7 approximately is the previous high. If we go above that, then intermediate wave X is still in force. If we get negative news on the pound later today, perhaps this will trigger the next wave lower, but I wouldn't trade this pair right now since it is hard to figure out based on the wave count what will be the result on those news and what is going to be the direction for the pound, for British pound today. Let's first see those news, and after that we can possibly have more clarity on the pound and the direction for pound yen as well. Let's look at briefly euro Canadian dollar, which is still very unclear. No trading opportunities to be seen, in my opinion. Maybe if we get a decline below 141.75, perhaps then the impulsive structure is more clear and we can start to think about trading this to the downside. But if we get euro strength, like I am favoring in a couple of other pairs, then there's going to be even more unclear situation in euro Canadian, and the revision that I have been talking about lately may be needed to get some clarity on euro Canadian. But let's see how this develops. If we get euro strength, I need to make a revision. If we get a decline below 141.75, then perhaps third wave impulsive decline and can expect more downside. Okay, that's all for today. Visit the show notes at ForexDayBreak.com/71, and let me remind you that you can get this video analysis, daily trading signals and access to my trading system when you subscribe to my basic membership. Membership fee is only $10 a month, and I have a 14-day free trial for you to test out my service. You can cancel with one click, so this is truly a risk-free offer. Go to ForexDayBreak.com/basic and sign up. More trades tomorrow, happy trading, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.
Thanks for your interest in Forex Daybreak Daily Podcast. If you like this show, we hope you'll visit our website, www.ForexDayBreak.com. Be sure to check the show notes on our website for this episode. Join us next time for another episode of Forex Daybreak.